Hello, welcome back to Resilient Building Cooperative Talk. I'm Matthew Andrews, and it is February 1st, 2023. So, a lot to update you with here today. I think I'm going to limit it to, just for the sake of time, talking a little bit about the Mass Save Renovations and Additions program. I believe since the last time I posted, I've really gotten involved in the renovations and additions program. And the program is rapidly expanding. There's some new updates for the new year starting back in January 1. So houses that were new construction required HERS ratings, and renovations and additions did not. But both would have ways to participate through Mass Save to get incentives for energy performance improvements over whatever the baseline standard that Mass Save was setting. So, but what's new now is that with renovations and additions, if that renovation in addition, if the renovation is over 50% of the house, or if the addition is over 1,000 square feet, then you need a HERS rating. And a HERS rating is a much more involved process than just the general model that Mass Save would otherwise require me to do. In either case, you need a HERS rater to do that. But the modeling is much more detailed. Things like the size of the windows, the orientation of the walls, it all becomes very important with the HERS rating. So there are with the new codes that have come into this, what's doing this is the new codes actually. In Massachusetts, we have what's actually 3 tiers of codes now. So there's the base code, which was just set by the Board of Building Regulations and Standards, and you can pass that just through a checklist. It's considered prescriptive. The other two ways you can meet a code are through performance-based standards. And so with the codes, there is the base code, stretch code, and stretch codes, and now the new one is now called specialized. So there are actually 3 tiers of codes, and you can each town sets their own, chooses which standard they want. So if the town does nothing, they're a base code community. Most towns in Massachusetts now have endorsed the stretch code. It's been around for a while now. It's just a higher standard, and people, at the local level who are ambitious about making buildings, homes, commercial and residential, by the way, there is both sides. You either adopt both or neither, have adopted stretch code. So that's mostly what I'm going to talk about. But now in the new, with 2023 now, there's also specialized, and some communities have actually already adopted that, and that's an even higher standard. So it's important to know wherever your project is what kind of codes your town has adopted. But most towns now are stretch, and you can, as I said, you need a HERS rating for new construction, and even if it's remodeling, if it's more than 50% of the conditioned floor area that's being remodeled, or if it's more than 1,000 square feet, you're going to need a HERS rating to get that stamp for code compliance. So through Mass Save, Resilient Building is considered a trade ally. It was a very simple process. You just show that your HERS rating credentials, you sign a trade ally agreement, and we do a little orientation on the program, and we're part of it. So when people are doing a project, whether there's a new construction and renovations and additions, we signed up to do both. If people are doing one of those, either any kind of project like that, they call Mass Save, and Mass Save directs them to local companies to call, raters, who can help them through the process. So I've just been getting lots of phone calls, and we check first to see if they've had a home energy assessment. Mass Save does a weatherization program that's very generous. You have somebody come out to do an assessment. It's not a detailed energy model. It's not a blower door test. It's just a walkthrough. They really just look for the low-hanging fruit, things like you got to put insulation in your attic, you got to air seal um, along joists, these kinds of things they spot and do a little report. The things that they put in their report are generally things that are, as I said, obvious to the eye. But the great thing about it is you can get, once you have that assessment, you can get 75% off on insulation work and 100% coverage on air sealing. So, and any other work that they come up with, is it's weatherization related. Generally, that's air sealing and weather and insulation. You can get 75% off on it. You can also qualify for a 0% heat loan, which is that's 0% financing up to $25,000 over a 7-year term. And so that will help you if you want to do any kind of weatherization upgrades. You can apply that money. Now, if usually there's a combination of things like, you need to put the blue board back up on the inside, or you need to put siding back up on the outside, and those kinds of things are, like for a bigger renovation project, wouldn't be covered by Mass Save, but you can still use that loan money to complete a project. So that's really like the first step that I recommend to people, is to go through that. And even if they say your house, the weatherization program can't do anything for you, at least you've checked that box, and you can go on to the incentives with renovations and additions. And now, actually, another new thing with 2023 is you can combine it with the incentives for air source or ground source heat pumps. In the past, if you convert your entire house, get it off fossil fuels, and onto a heat pump system, you could get a $10,000, or at least up to $10,000 rebate for that installation. And they put it actually right on the invoice of the when you get your invoice for the work done. So it's a immediate mark off for that work. So, but it used to be that you couldn't combine that with renovations and additions, and so that $10,000 for the air source heat pumps was just too good of a deal. Usually people would go with that. Now I think they needed to update the modeling software a little bit. So the way they do it is they will give you that rebate for the air source heat pump, and then when you model the house, they zero out that efficiency gain from the air source heat pumps, and everything else that you did to improve the energy performance of the house is credited towards the renovations and additions. So reductions in electricity use, reductions in any kind of gas or gas or oil that's in BTUs, and then overall percent savings of energy use versus the prior model. So you do a before picture, we do a model of that house, and we do an after model, and it's a comparison, and it's a percent savings. And so there's that little formula, those three factors. And you can get up to $10,000 that way as well. But now you can combine that with air source heat pumps. So it's a really great incentives program, and it requires having a home energy rater to do the modeling for you. We charge a little as we go with the project. There's a deposit. There's a couple $100 to come out and look at your home. We do initial assessment. We do air sealing inspection. That's actually not totally. It's not actually required, that air sealing inspection, but it's well worth it because you find the air leaks and you plug them up before you bury it in insulation. If you're using insulation that is not also an air barrier, like cellulose or fiberglass, it's good to do the air sealing inspection first. If you are using something that's also a air barrier, such as closed cell spray foam, which I believe is just like an inch of it, or even open source spray foam, if you have I think it's 5 inches, you can that counts as an air barrier. We do an insulation inspection afterwards. That is required by Mass Save. Mass Save wants to see that insulation is installed correctly. There's a grading system, 1, 2, 3. It's very simple, but you look at it and you say you look for gaps, you look for unnecessary compression that can compromise the performance of insulation, and you rate it, and then you have to have that done before the drywall goes up. You can actually enroll a program after you want to do that blower door test before demolition begins, so you can get that before picture. But even if the demolition's already begun, you can still enroll in the program. Mass Save sets baselines, so a blower door test baseline for renovations and additions is 10.2 air changes per hour at 50 pascals. That's just how we measure the leakiness of a home. You take the volume of the home and you say, how many times does that volume of air circulate through the house if you've created a depressurization condition of 50 pascals, which we do with a blower door test, the big fan in the door. But it's kind of like how the house would be if there were a storm outside and you had 20, 25 mile per hour winds blowing on all four sides of the house. So it's not meant to be like a realistic daily condition, but it is a standard condition that you can recreate with the fan to demonstrate how leaky a house is. And 10.2 is pretty leaky, so if you can improve on that through your renovation and additions project, you can get a decent incentive. So you get that done, and then we do another model after the drywall is up and everything is done. We run that second blower door test. Any other changes, if there was an addition, or you put in a skylight, you changed out insulation behind a wall. All this stuff, information goes into the model, and the software gives you an estimated rebate, which is what Mass Save cuts the check for. So it's a really popular program. You got to get a HERS rater anyways to do the code compliance. So my suggestion is to get in touch with us early if you are intending on doing this kind of a project, because we can help you. We can look at your designs and say, these are ways that you can save money on your project. If you call us late, pretty much we're gonna rate the house and the project the way you did it. But usually there are easy things you can do during the project that will improve energy performance. Once you've done the demolition, once you've opened up the walls, it just makes sense to find those little things, little details to make the home's performance that much better, and you get it back in the incentives. And we can do that for you by looking at the design. We can even model it in the software. Say, if you add insulation here, if you did continuous insulation on the outside of the house, here I'll put that in the model. This is what the rebate would give you if you did that, and we can walk through those kinds of possibilities for you in your house. So I'm really excited about it. This is something that's the state of Massachusetts does through Mass Save, and it's one of the best programs in the country, and people just need to know about it. A lot of times people get into projects and they're so busy buying the house, hiring the contractors. Maybe energy efficiency isn't the top priority for them, and it's just kind of like they don't think about it until the project's already well underway, or even not at all. So we need to get the publicity out there to let people know that they should be taking advantage of this. So that's going to be it for now. I'm going to try and do more of these videos just to keep you up to date on everything that's going on. But there's a ton of work, and I'm just diving into it. So looking forward to talking to you again soon. Remember that share these videos with friends, people who might have housing projects, but most of all with your fellow workers, because cooperation is something we can only do together.